Hello, brilliant beauties. I am Dr. J. Grand Rising and happy Father's Day to the women who are both the man of the house and the woman of the house. Girl, can I just say the juggle is real and I know and feel your heart and soul. So today we're going to talk about cognitive dissonance. We're going to talk about the unique challenges that are faced by breadwinner moms and applaud our strength and resilience. In this episode today, we're going to delve into the topic of cognitive dissonance, and we're going to talk about this balancing act between our masculine and feminine energies in our businesses and in our lives. As I like to say, the juggle is real. So let's determine which balls we carry and discern those that are no longer serving our best and highest selves. I'm noticing that I'm juggling between two operating systems as I ascend in my consciousness beyond the 3D state that brought me a lot of success in 3D and into the fourth and fifth dimensions. I recognize and realize we were never meant to get into adulthood and stagnate. That instead we were meant to experience that hockey stick kind of growth where we laid a strong foundation and we learned the masculine energies as women, we learned the playbook, and then we experience hockey stick growth. That's where we should be trending towards. So let's talk a little bit about what is cognitive dissonance, and then I want to share with you a little bit of research on masculine and feminine energies needed to prosper in business in the 21st century. It's really exciting stuff. 64,000 survey participants across 18 nations in Fortune 500 boardrooms. As a scholarly geek and researcher, I think to myself, the N is large enough, it's global and valid everywhere, and we're talking about high performers and the Fortune 500 executives. So people who've exceeded the norm in their level of success. So that is what I look for when I'm examining research and trying to understand what is it that leads to ultra success, because your inputs determine your outputs. So if you think about that normal distribution curve, the mediocre middle exists for a reason. It exists because we behave our way into it. And when we choose common behaviors, we achieve common outcomes. And when we look at what those common outcomes are here in America, and some of this is global, but I know the data better about America. The majority of Americans are in financial distress and struggle and worry about their finances. The majority of Americans are obese. This was so crazy for me to learn. Over 2/3, nearing 3/4 of Americans are obese. That's a major issue that leads to health conditions, mental health and physical health. And let's see, there was one more. Let's see, and the majority of Americans experiencing a lot of distress in their relationships. So I look at that and think, that is not what I'm aspiring to. So I have to question my behaviors. What are the behavioral choices? Because yesterday I was talking to someone about the importance of chicken. And in this conversation, that individual said, well, I don't want to be sheep. And in my head, I'm thinking, are you looking at your behaviors? Because you're behaving like a sheep. But this individual doesn't identify as a sheep and therefore is just in this place of looking at only what that individual does not want, instead of looking at what do I want and how do I align my vibration with that vision and the behavioral choices that I need to make to achieve it, right? So what we don't want is often a grand invitation to what we do want. And so let's talk a little bit about what that means. Cognitive dissonance is simply a psychological phenomenon where an individual experiences this mental discomfort because they're holding on to some contradictory beliefs, values, or attitudes simultaneously. It's like you're in this inner tug of war. I'm going to be doing a training on this out at the horse field because I want to be able to draw a line in a sand and role model. So if you could close your eyes and visualize this with me, picture me standing in a horse arena, and I'm going to take my heel and I'm going to drag it across the sand, and I'm going to create a line in the sand. And my left foot is going to be placed on the left side of that line. And then I'm going to try to reach for my goals, and I'm going to baby step my way with my right foot. I've got to keep my left foot planted on the other side of that line. So how far can that right foot really stretch? Now I'm a flexible person and I can almost do the splits, but that right foot can only stretch so far, right? That right foot is only stretching maybe one standard deviation above the mean, maybe two into the land of above average, but still kind of struggling and regressing every once in a while. That's how change happens, by the way. If you're ambitious and striving for that fifth dimensional state of being or ultra level of success in your business and finances and relationships, and you want it all, because I'm a have your cake and eat it too kind of girl. Don't bake a cake and not eat it. I would never ask you to do that. If I'm going to ask you to pour in the effort and bake the cake, I'm going to let you sit down and eat it too. That's how we train, my friends. So we're going to imagine yourself with that right foot, step, 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 baby stepping away from that left. It can only baby step so far, right? And then for you to reach that next level, the top percent, pick your percent. I let people pick whenever we start their high performance coaching sessions. We decide, are you aiming for the top 2%? We look at the income levels of the top 10%, 8%, 5%, 2%, 1%. What lifestyle ambition do you have and what level do you need to earn to fund it? And then we make the leap. Well, that leap is going to require you to lift the left foot out from behind that line and meet the right foot so that you can take some baby steps in a new direction at the next level of your success. So this cognitive dissonance is really important for us to understand, because cognitive dissonance is that left foot grounded and that right foot trying to reach for something different. It can only stretch so far. So we have to understand this topic so that we feel comfortable lifting the left foot, because otherwise we're never willing to lift that left foot. And that is why most people stay stuck and stagnant. Most people, if you look at success, let me grab a little Post-it note here. This is called a behavior over time graph. It's a systems thinking and dynamic modeling tool. And we'll talk about two types of success here. And I want you to do this with me. So grab your journals while I'm doing this. And I'm showing you two pathways here. Oops. And those two pathways, sorry, here for those of you watching on my Facebook group, you can screenshot that real quick. I'm going to dive into the training room, screenshot, training room. For most people, they experience this kind of gradual growth throughout their lives. Ultra successful high performers have a different playbook. And so their operating system is different. The inputs lead to different outputs. And so what their graph, and this is just a hypothetical, but you'll notice there's greater discrepancies. There's greater peaks and valleys. This happens a lot to black sheep. It happens a lot to highly gifted kids. I used to always teach gifted kids. Many of you, I'm going to share this because I'm speaking today to celebrate those single breadwinner moms. You typically have kids that are a lot like you. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I know that from decades in education. And a common mind has development that's like this. There's very little discrepancy between their areas of strength and weakness. That's neurotypical. Neurodivergent minds look a little more like this, and this might be what you have. I remember learning this for the first time and I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. Oh, and then later in life, oh my gosh, that's my child too. So we experience these greater peaks and valleys between our strengths and our relative weaknesses. And so that's an area that creates a lot of cognitive dissonance, because we see a lot of people, common people, being able to succeed overall in all areas of their life and business and career well. And then all of a sudden we're living in a life like this and we're looking around thinking, what's wrong with me? Nothing, honey. Nothing is wrong with you. Can I just celebrate that? I love that Jamie Kern-Lima in her book Worthy says, you're not crazy, you're just first. So you're just different. Neurodivergent is a great thing if you learn how to allow it to work to bring you competitive advantage instead of fueling self-doubt and discouraging narratives in the mind. So I want you to take a look at that again and notice that what is the outcome? What is the high level of success? Notice the difference. Average inputs, average growth. High performance leadership inputs, much higher growth. That corresponds in the research on high performance to greater health and well-being and quality relationships and less stress. I also have seen it correspond when we're talking about entrepreneurs. This playbook leads to higher levels of income. That's why I'm committed to it. As a single breadwinner mom, I had to figure out, how am I going to fund my daughter's horse dream? I was a broke as a joke educator. I literally lived in my Honda Civic for 2 weeks my first year of teaching. And I just recently sold my $1.5 million home on 5 acres with a beautiful barn and Rocky Mountain views out of every single window, including my toilet. So you can have your cake and eat it too. I know it because I've lived it. And then once I learned that strategy of the left foot, right foot, I built that strategy of success, and my left foot was still holding me back because what I was doing was climbing and scaling mountains. And what I was really designed by God for was to set sail, baby. I did not need to be exhausting myself scaling the peaks and then plummeting to the valley below to recover. I was meant to be in my divine femininity and flow. And I know that's true for you too, because it is very tiring being both the man and the woman of the house. It's very tiring having that masculine responsibilities and feminine responsibilities. Now, we both have those energies in us. And so we lean into them differently. What I notice in myself is I had leaned into the masculine a lot more than my feminine. So let's talk about what that means. Remember that study I mentioned? 64,000 survey respondents across 18 nations in Fortune 500 boardrooms. So we're talking an N that's large enough to matter, global, so we know that it applies worldwide, and at the highest levels where we want our performance to mirror. These studies, they took half of the survey participants and had them identify out of this list of characteristics that were the most imperative for businesses to succeed. They took that list and then they said, identify these as masculine, feminine, or neutral. And they gave the other half of the participants that same list of characteristics and said, prioritize these in order of business success. What characteristics do you need from your teams and from yourselves to succeed at ultra high levels and prosper in the 21st century? The top 11 were feminine energies. That's what I train on in High Performance Leadership Academy. It's what I'm going to be inviting you to join me for my free masterclass, Clarity to Seven Figures, launching July 15th. I've offered that twice. Its third launch is coming up. I'm very excited about that. If you'd like a personal custom invitation delivered right to you, you got to message me. You got to be willing to take that first step. An ultra successful person, remember, common behavior, if you're the stop and scroll, you're going to get common results. There's nothing that annoys me more than common results. I strive for the extraordinary each and every day of my life. So I want the person who's willing to take that first step and say, yes, I was made for more. Yes, I declare my worth today. Yes, I'm ready to walk alongside you and quadruple my income. Yes, I'm willing to do it with a different playbook that brings me joy and peace and love and quality relationships and vibrant health and energy. And yes, I'm committed. The world favors the committed. And so I need you to commit to just reaching out and sending me a message and saying, hey, you don't even have to say a lot. I just want to know you. So tell me, hey, tell me a little bit about your business. Tell me a little bit about your family. Tell me a little bit about what it's like to be you as a single mom. Just like I'm telling you a little bit about what it's like when I was in that space of cognitive dissonance. I'm still in it. And I live in that tug of war of wanting to lean into the masculine energies of, here's the ones that stood out to me in that research of all these hundreds of words, was goal-oriented. I was very ambitious with my goals. There's a few D words here. I'm like, my head just started, I started getting another voice. I'm being very divinely guided as I lean into the feminine and intuition. And this is the kind of thing that trips me up sometimes. I'm like, wow, there's all these, it can be easy and flow, and I don't need my notes as much. So you have basically you're goal oriented and ambitious. You're disciplined, you're determined, you're decisive, and you're making all of those decisions each and every day, and it's brought you success. And so you trust in that. I call it my operating system. It is well tuned. That machine is so well oiled. I manage the minutes so well that I've even calibrated how to clean my home in the fewest steps possible and where to position the cleaning products and how to load the dishwasher in the most effective and efficient way so that unloading it takes seconds. I literally am masterfully saving minutes in how I calibrate my days so that each and every day each and every week, I have a spare like 6 hours. And then I add high performance habits onto that, and that 6 hours becomes about 26 hours. And it is mind blowing how then I can lean into the feminine energies. Those were things like communication, collaboration. Collaboration, think about that word. That requires you to do it really well at ultra high levels. Doesn't require just being nice to people and identifying how they can help and prioritizing them like you're managing tasks. It really requires you to be present, for you to be loved, for you to be so well received by someone that they would do anything for you. That's those ultra high levels of leaders. They're the people that anyone would walk through fire for. I remember as a principal when people asked me, man, your staff will walk through fire for you. You're lucky. Implementing change is easy in your building. And I thought, that's not easy. I might make it look easy, but I was like the duck skimming the surface, making things look easy. And underneath, I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to operate in my masculine energies. Those little feet are just paddling away. And I was super in dissonance. I was like in this tug of war because I loved the flow, but I felt like I didn't have time for it. And so this inner conflict is a sign that we're experiencing cognitive discipline or dissonance. It's a feeling of being torn between our career ambitions and our family responsibilities, right? Our career ambitions required us to be masculine. And then we came home and we went, oh, I got to be the feminine side too. And I've got to be the masculine side because I'm managing the finances, I'm managing the minutes, I'm doing the yard, I'm doing all the things, right? And you're doing it alone. So that can lead to this inner conflict. And it can also create some stress and anxiety. So what ends up happening, we're going to go through another tool here called a causal loop diagram. So I want you to grab your notebooks again. We're going to write inner conflict on the left side of your page. And then on the right side, stress and anxiety. And then I'm going to ask you to make a little loop with it. So inner conflict, loop, stress and anxiety, lower loop. We're doing this with great purpose and intention. Your mind is visual and will remember this. Long-term memory and retention. This is the saddest part of my job as someone who facilitates deep learning. You'll only remember 20% of this 30 days from now. If we take notes, we dial that up to 50%. And if we take action, 90%. So I'm very intentional with how I train because I want you taking notes and then we're going to commit to action. Because that is how we become masterful. I don't want you wasting your time looking back at your life a year from now and being like, man, I remember I had that dream and dang, I still have that dream. Or I approached the dream, I wrote it down, I started journaling about it. Or even worse, I went for it, but I sat in that tug of war for so darn long that I gave up and went back to my comfort zone. And then fell right into that mediocre middle. That is not where you were designed to be. I know wholeheartedly God gave you the desires of your heart for a reason. That reason is someone else's electromagnetic field calling out to you to deliver only what you can uniquely deliver. And that's why I have committed my heart and soul to helping entrepreneurs early in their journey because there's not enough support out there for them. There's plenty of people selling you how to make a lead magnet, how to become a self-published author, how to develop a funnel, all the lessons, right? And we get pulled in all these targets like a ping pong ball. And we're like playing a game of whack-a-mole. And guess what? The stress and anxiety goes through the roof. The inner conflict through the roof. More stress and anxiety. And we live in this space. And if we stay there too long, what happens is add this on. This is a little sloppy notes. I'm giving you permission to be messy, my friends. So you're going to come off of inner or stress and anxiety with a little arrow. And then you're going to write the word identity. And then you're going to bring that arrow back up to inner conflict. And on the right side by stress and anxiety, put 2 little hash marks. That hash mark indicates a time delay. What most of you don't realize is when you stay in that loop, you're affecting who you are. And so basically, if your identity was like a gas tank and you had this full tank of gas when you entered this world, and that full tank, you know what it said about you? I don't have this in my notes, but I have another note about it, and I'm going to pull it up right now. You know what that full tank said about you? This is what it says in the scriptures. You are beautiful, victorious, I want you to write down the words that resonate with you in this moment. Grab your pen. I am. And as I read this list, I want you to write down at least 3 of these words. I'm going to read you 10. So I'm only asking for 30%. I'm just asking you to take those baby steps. I design things with great intention and great purpose. I know that it's way too hard to make that big old leap. That requires a different identity. So I've got to build your identity here. So I want you to write down 3 words, only 3 out of this 10. And we're going to just focus on those in the week ahead. So we're going to build our identity. Let me read what scripture tells you you are. You are beautiful. You are victorious. You are enough. You are created. You are strong. You are amazing. You are capable. You are chosen. You are never alone. You are always loved. If you want the scriptures that go with those, just request that in the chat and I'll get you over. I've got a beautiful little image. I read that every single day. I look at that image. It's beautiful. It makes me happy. And I read those words every day. If you want to join me in building the identity of an ultra successful, high performance leader who's the CEO of your business, achieving success at top levels, and mastering being loving and soft-hearted and kind and generous in your family and community, I'm your girl to help. That's what I'm committed to doing. So we have that inner conflict leads us to stress and anxiety, which leads to even more inner conflict. And we stay stuck in that. So we're going to put R in the middle of that loop for reinforcing. It means as inner conflict goes up, so does stress and anxiety. You'll notice that I put a little plus sign, R, and circle. Those are just the little details of how a systems dynamicist would notate that. So I want you to be, how we do the little things determines whether we get to do the big things that are really our biggest ambitions. Because I believe that God in the universe won't give you anything you can't handle. So if you don't demonstrate you can handle the little things, guess what? Those big dreams, they're never going to fall into your lap. So let's do the little things well. And then our identity is, after we live in that inner state of conflict and stress and anxiety, our identity takes a hit. And we begin to feel like we're not worthy. We begin to feel like we're not enough. We begin to feel like we're not going to make it. And we get discouraged. We get a little depressed because we're standing in the gap. We're standing in the gap instead of the gain. I want you looking at, that's a great book to read. If for those of you looking for something to read, Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy wrote this book titled The Gap and the Gain. When we orient our vision to the gap, which is often, again, that's our masculine energy. Where are we? Where do we want to be? Let's create and craft a strategic plan to get there in the fewest possible steps because we're efficient and effective. Yet what we really need to achieve ultra high levels is to stand in the gain, to use our feminine energy to practice self-compassion and self-love and say, wow, honey, you've come so far. Look at you. Maybe you went through divorce. Maybe you were in an abusive relationship. Maybe you were even physically assaulted. You went through some really hard things. Oh, I'm getting my right leg tingle right now. This is why God has me talking to you. This is on purpose. I know I felt called to do this today. And I'm celebrating Father's Day because I'm the man and the woman of the house. So today's my day too. I claim that. I declare that. And I'm going to have a ton of fun today. And I'm sharing this day from the bottom of my heart with you because I know that as single breadwinner women, as God placed this on my heart, I knew I was really well positioned. Everything came together in this spirit of integration and beauty. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I didn't even have to work hard to build this training. It just came from the depths of my soul and my heart and was divinely guided. I love ease and flow. Thank you, Lord. Praise you for making this easy and to flow. Can I get a little more of that in my business? Please, I'm hungry for it. How do I do this, right? And I'm living in that cognitive dissonance. And so I know that I'm being called to do this because I've seen God working. I know that every single person is being placed in my path with great purpose. So when you reach out to me, I will be welcoming you with open arms, sweetheart, because I know you're my soul sister. And I know I'm here to divinely guide you, to take those dreams, help you see and experience the gain that you stand in, and then position your uniqueness in the business industry. You get to pick which billion-dollar industry you want a slice of based on your skills and uniqueness so that it can be easy. See, we're marrying the masculine and feminine. We're using that rock star strategy and execution playbook, and then we're just layering in a sprinkle of our feminine energy so that we can experience greater ease and flow. Can I get a hallelujah? Hallelujah. So let's look at how does cognitive dissonance and this stress cycle affect our daily lives. It affects our decision making. We struggle to make clear decisions due to these conflicting priorities. And imagine that. It's like when I'm on my Peloton and I've got the resistance cranked up and I'm starting and I'm stopping and I'm starting and I'm stopping and I'm starting and I'm stopping and I'm really starting and it's getting hard. It wasn't meant to be that way. It was meant to be in divine alignment and flow. That's why I also want you to get to know source energy and God and something bigger than yourself. Trust in the divine angels and the guardians and protectors of this world and galaxies to be in your corner. I imagine them every single day. God will work with you in a way that is unique to you. All you have to do is ask for a relationship and ask for God to reveal himself to you. That's all you have to do. Step one, that's it. That's how I started. And that's a whole nother thing. I kind of want to talk to you all about how I came to know God is galactic and amazing, and there's so much in that story. But I save that for in the program because we're on a time horizon today. So I want you to really orienting yourself in God, make yourself real to me. Show me that these desires are here for a great reason, right? And then trust and surrender. Those were the two words I've been carrying in my pocket. I put trust and surrender in my right pocket, courage in my left pocket, and I walk into the day. And I ask myself at the end of that day, I pretend I'm entering God's boardroom and I see God at the head of the table as the CEO, and I see the angels and the guardians of the galaxies and the protectors and the higher councils, and in I come as if I'm in that executive boardroom delivering that PowerPoint, and I say, how'd we do today? And they say, sweet child, you did well. You shared your heart, you showed love, you care about your clients more than anyone in their lives. And that's what I take great honor in. That's what I'm here for. And if you know a woman who needs to be cared for in this way, please share this with her. I want to love on her. That's what God's calling me to do. It's why I sold it all, downsized my life so that I could give this business the runway that it needs without having to have that corporate job as my second income or main source of income. That I built the nest egg and have years to build this out, to serve and to help you. I'm here for you. I'm never too busy for you. I know what it's like to be you because I was once there. I was the girl who lived in the Honda Civic. I was the girl who drove her baby home from the airport by herself and couldn't even afford a high chair for her. I was the girl that later could barely afford grapes because that was a fancy fruit. I couldn't afford the fancy fruit snacks, the ones with no high fructose corn syrup, and all those cool things kids had in their lunch. While I was packing my daughter batches of quinoa because that's really inexpensive to make and super healthy to provide and nourish for her body. And so I know what it's like to be in that space of stress and struggle. And I also know what it's like to come out of that and quadruple your income and make massive moves in your life. And I know that's possible for you. So if you know a woman who needs to hear this, I want you to be the kind of woman who is the rising tide raising all ships. That's why we share. That's why we lift each other up. That's why we say, I'm thinking of you. That is God working through you. I saw it during my cancer journey. The moments when I was so down in the dumps after radiation and I didn't think I was going to make it, I'd get a call or a text and someone would just say, you've been on my mind. And I'm like, really? Oh my gosh, I have tingles all over my body right now, which is amazing because it's warm in Florida. You can see my Floridian glow. My skin's radiant and amazing. And I call it my glazed donut. I just love the feeling of it all over my body. My skin is like luxurious. And so when I get that tingle, it's like this sensation of God's presence all around me. It happened at church this morning like 3 times. And I was like, thank you. Don't ever leave me. Don't ever leave me. Keep holding me. I love this. And so I want you to know that too. I want you to know how to bring God into your business and into your life. The feminine energies invite that if your heart desires it. God will knock on the door, but if you're keeping that door locked and shut, there's no way for him to get in. So I want to also help you learn to unlock and open that door so that you can experience that ease. So decision making is one of the impacts. Another big impact, emotional well-being. Literally 2 weeks ago in High Performance Leadership Academy, I asked all the women, what are your goals for this week? Out of all these high performance outcomes, what are the ones that you really want to focus on? Literally, you want to know what percent said emotional well-being? 100%. So if you're all over the place with your emotions, I want you to know you are not alone. Remember that list? Never alone, always loved. You are never alone. You are always loved. And when we're in cognitive dissonance, we have increased feelings of guilt, frustration, or inadequacy. That's literally the research on our emotional well-being and the impact of cognitive dissonance. So let me say that again, because this is research-based. Guilt. Anyone feeling mom guilt? I know, as the man and woman of the house, we all feel some mom guilt. Frustration because no one else can do it as good as me, and I'm taking on all the things, and dang it, I never get to rest. Anybody? Inadequacy, feeling like you're never enough because you're doing so many things. There's one carafe of water, or one. Let's do this. Let's have some fun with coffee this morning. I got my mushroom coffee, a big one. So you've got that carafe of your mushroom coffee loaded with lion's mane and nootropics and probiotics and all these goodies that are going to nourish your body and not send you into the peak and valley pattern of behavior. You've chosen to nourish yourself with intention, and you go out into that world and there are 5,000 coffee mugs, and you start pouring, frantically trying to make sure that you're that little duck. Don't drop them. Don't quit swimming. And you're filling all the cups, but no one's filling yours. Right? That's why I'm here. I want to fill your cup. I love you genuinely. I know who you are because I've been that person. And when God placed this on my heart, I could not feel more fired up for you right now than I am in this moment, because I'm finally getting clarity. And I'm like, holy cow, clarity trumps strategy every day of the week. Strategy was let's see here. Here's my strategic list, right? All of the strategic priorities, love them. Thank you so much. Yay, hooray for them. However, this divine state of flow and being in peace and love and joy and compassion as your operating system, that's worth experiencing some cognitive dissonance. We will get there. We will learn how to lift that left foot and say, woo, I'm not climbing mountains anymore. Hop on my sailboat, sweetheart. Let's go sailing. That's where I want you. Sailing takes me away. I wish I could sing, because I would sing that whole song for you. I'm a karaoke girl. I'll belt it out. So the research shows us that there's 3 impacts on our daily life that cognitive dissonance creates: decision making, emotional well-being, and productivity. We see just little declines in our work efficiency, which leads to declines in personal satisfaction. And so that's a really challenging place for us to be, especially as high achievers. So we've covered the masculine and feminine energies. I want you thinking about goal-oriented, disciplined, determined, decisive, and then communicative, collaborative, intuitive. For me, I didn't even know how to use my intuition. I was like, I have intuition? I think that's for other people, like those psychic woo-woo types. I don't know how to do that, and I don't even know if that's real. Now I know, the more I lean into this, the more I ask God to reveal himself to me, the more I focus on intuition, and I really focus. This week, I'm going to share with you some of the things. I'll go a little over today. The things that my High Performance Leadership Academy is working on. I've sent them this note. It's notice intuitive thoughts, downloads, and epiphanies. Claircognizance, the intellectual psychic pathway, is trying to break through the noise in your noggin. I always thought someone had psychic abilities or didn't have psychic abilities, but it turns out we can create heightened senses. I've even come into contact with a third eye diet to be able, your third eye is your connection to the divine. So you can literally eat to nourish that awakening. Woo! There are things, we are empowered women, ladies. Let's do this. It says, and then we wrote, instead of analyzing masculine energy, notice insightful thoughts appearing fully formed in your mind. Out-of-the-box epiphanies, large and layered chunks of wisdom arriving instantly like a computer download, and aha realizations. That was this training, literally. Divinely delivered with flow, and here I am, way off script, and it's perfect. It is divinely perfect. The reason you are a perfectionist is because you were meant to be. You are divinely perfect. We just got to peel back the onion layers and see the center of your being. Or, as I like to say, I've kind of built a lot of walls protecting myself along the way, right? You have the damaged relationship with men. You know who I'm talking to my single breadwinner moms, right? We've had the dating attempts that have failed and wronged us. We've had the awful bosses who assumed that we couldn't do it all because we were a single mom. I'm thinking of SM, that's his initials, walked into my office one day, saw my photos, saw that it was just me and my daughter, and said, wow, it must be really difficult to do this job given that you don't have a man in your life. I wanted to look at him. Myself in that moment was so darn nervous, it just made my armpits sweat. But later, after I grew that muster of courage, you know what I wanted to say to him? Wow, it must really be difficult to do your job on top of a failing marriage because you're such a jerk. How about that one? Take one for the team. We're all on the struggle bus. And then the last is this last sentence. A calm, still mind creates more room for guidance. So if we're running at 110 miles an hour, do we have that calm, still mind? No. Pastor at my church recommended this book called The 3 Mile Per Hour God. I never really, I'll get honest with you ladies since we're in training. And those of you brave enough to watch the behind the scenes, I never read a book cover to cover. I don't. I'm wicked smart. People always say, you're wicked smart. You're so intelligent. Da 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 da. And I agree with that. I'm on a quest of always learning. I want to be intelligent. I value intelligence. I love intelligent people. But I read portions of books. Like this book, I'm all in it. I've got highlights. But if you look at this one's not a good example because the front pages I highlighted. Let's see about the back. The back's blank. Like I never finished this book. Here's where I left off. And this was a book I actually just pulled out for a conversation with a client. I read this book in 2000. So literally, this book has not been picked up in a while. And then I look at other books and I'm like, let's see, how about this book? Nope. This book, like 2 pages read. I constantly am surrounding myself by books and guidance. This book here, only 4 pages read. And I went back as I was getting inspiration for today. I literally tabbed them. And I was like, okay, you don't have to do it cover to cover. You don't have to do it the hard way and making things really difficult for yourself, right? When we do that, we impact our level of success. We hit here because we're doing all the things. This is why I love leadership. The trend from middle level leaders to high level leaders, the number one thing they have to learn to do. Let's see it in the chat. What would you guess? Number one thing you would think they have to do as a mid-level leader to get to that executive board level? Do I know what it is? That number one thing is accepting B quality work. You can't do it at that highest level of perfection. You have to say, that's a good enough job. That's another great book for those of you looking for a read, The Good Enough Job. For those of you who don't have time to read like me, full disclosure, I haven't read the entire book. You go to Amazon, you look up The Good Enough Job, you download the sample, you read the sample, get the gist, and then you move on. We're busy doing. Nike said just do it. He didn't say just read about it, just think about it, just overanalyze it, just overthink it, just compare yourself to everybody else. Those are the symptoms of fear, by the way. 4 symptoms of fear. So let's talk about, as we wrap up today, what can we do to integrate? I want you to focus on the word integration. Right? So screenshot this today. Integration. When we integrate these energies of masculine and feminine, we're creating this balanced approach to life and work. And that balanced approach leads us to peace and joy and happiness and ease. Can I tell you how good it feels to experience ease? Woo! So the frequency of integration supports our embrace of every aspect of ourselves. That's that nurturing, loving version of you that you love, but you don't get to be her often enough because you're so busy battling the day. It allows what we perceive as positive and what we perceive as negative to harmonize in a balanced symphony of life. Let's dive in a little bit deeper. Okay, so this is literally, so the symbol that you see on the card here, we're going to talk sacred geometry. I believe when I first learned about sacred geometry, it resonated deeply with me, and I started to go, oh my gosh, there's times when I look at things, there's an inner knowing that's ignited. That's part of how I'm learning to use my own intuition, is when I look at an image like this, see what comes for you. Can you learn to trust that there's knowledge inside of you that you didn't have to work for, that you didn't have to open a book and earn a degree to earn, to know? There's a lot of wisdom inside of us. So this is an ancient symbol that literally translated means sacred instrument. It is formed by 9 interlocking triangles that form 43 similar triangles in a grid that represent the entire cosmos. This complicated and precise geometry is thought to hold and create powerful energetic patterns and has been used for thousands of years as a tool for meditation and devotion. It symbolizes the union between the divine masculine and the divine feminine, where the upward triangles represent the male, or Shiva energies, and the downward, the female, or Shakti energies. The center point represents the junction between the physical universe and the source. The dark blue refers to the vast and deep universe as the origin from which everything springs into being. The yellows and golds refer to our inner power and the way we express ourselves on this earth in a physical body. Red is the color associated with the first chakra, the physical plane, and everything form-based. The light blue triangles represent the balance between the masculine and the feminine, and the swirling circles in the background are the other dimensions and star systems beyond this earth that are our origin. The energy of integration supports our journey through a dualistic reality in which we continuously search for union and completion. That's that 5th dimension of our consciousness that we're all seeking, to be unity, to be united with love. And I think about that from the expertise I have gained during training leaders across 13 countries in the 5 waves of trust. All of trust, which is a business imperative, so we must be studying trust as business owners, starts with self-trust, and self-trust overflows into relationship trust. Love is the same way. Self-love leads to loving others. When I see people that don't love others and don't express love for others, in whether it be in their lives or in their businesses, I know in that moment they're not in love with themselves. It's something that's irritating or agitating to them, and that's expressing itself in the physical, which is in that aggravated, frustrated state. We're not meant to be that. We are designed in love, and we need to learn to act in love, to design our days and behaviors with love as a cornerstone. I want to invite that for you this week. Only when we integrate everything that comes to us, when we embrace every aspect of ourselves and of everyone and everything around us, can we find an inner state of equilibrium. I want you to think deeply about this, right? Only when we embrace every aspect of ourselves and of everyone and everything around us. That means ourselves, we all have good and bad within us. And I want you leaning into the narrative of the good that's in you. I've started to notice this as I play with energy and I play with some of these concepts of consciousness and biblical truths that I'm learning. I'm noticing that I see the world as I am. When I don't feel enough, I see the world as a battle zone. When I don't feel happy and in love with myself and I'm judging myself, even if that's just staring in the mirror at my breasts in the aftermath of surgery, even if it's staring at the muffin top, I go back in time. I lost 48 pounds over the last 2 years. If I go back in time to that version of myself that was fluffy and fatigued and filled with brain fog because I was consuming alcohol, I was consuming toxins, I was putting in foods in the aftermath of that state of stress and anxiety we talked about, I fed that with food and drinks. And now I don't anymore. So I dropped 48 pounds and now I feel fit. But I remember what it was like to feel the shame of my muffin top, to look at myself in the mirror and see the bloating and be like, I don't know why this is happening, but it doesn't look good, right? And so then I would walk into the world and judge and criticize others. No man was ever good enough. Employees could always do better. Even my own child, why don't you help more? Right? That comes from that energy of not enough. Yet we can make shift happen. You know my YouTube channel is called Shift Happens for a reason. We can make shift happen. We can turn obstacles into our greatest opportunities. We can practice self-awareness. The number one attribute of the highest level of leaders, they are self-aware. They know how they show up. And I want you thinking about how you show up in your business and in your life. How you do the little things determines how you do the big things. I'm spiraling back to that concept. How you treat others in life affects how you treat people in your business and how the level of success you achieve. How much love and compassion you show determines how much ultra levels of success you receive. Spitting some truths on a Sunday. So this says, try this. Take a deep breath and close your eyes for a moment. So let's do that together. Release that masculine version of yourself that's been so tough and so strong, that's had to navigate challenges and obstacles. I'm thinking of a few of my clients right now that I'm releasing that for. We can release things on other people's behalfs. If your soul is so strong, which you likely are as an entrepreneur who's bold enough to be the black sheep out there doing all this work, I want you receiving all the benefits of that work. So you can release that for yourself. And I want you to also release that for someone you know needs it right now. Because as moms, we do nurture others. And I want you leaning into that feminine energy. How do you integrate your inner world with your outer world? Does one reflect the other harmoniously? Or do you need to invest some loving care in some areas? Do you spend time contemplating your daily life and exploring how it is connected to your thoughts and emotions? So instead of exploring our daily lives through the way to most efficiently navigate the day, you know me, I'm your manage the minutes girl. I want you doing that. And, because I'm a yes and, have your cake and eat it too, right? And ask yourself, am I contemplating my daily life and exploring the connectedness of my thoughts and my emotions? Am I seeing that my emotional well-being is related to my thoughts and actions? And that those beliefs that I carry create thoughts that inspire action. And often when I push pause and I really look at those actions that are not serving me, I can unpack them in a thought that I'm not enough and a belief that I'm not worthy. So I want you to reframe your thinking to reclaim your life this week. With that, my friends, I can't wait to see who has the courage to take that first step. Remember, your left foot's right there. You've made the line in the sand. Today, you're deciding that cognitive dissonance is real in your life, and you're going to embrace it and step fully into it to achieve ultra levels of success in your business and in your life. The world's highest performers are happier, healthier, and less stressed than their peers. The research tells us that they consistently perform at high levels while maintaining their health and well-being and quality relationships. That's what I want for you. And it's just a few simple steps away. So if you're ready to take that first step, I want you to be bold. The world favors the bold and committed. If you're ready to be favored right now, just open up my name, send me a message, tell me about yourself, and we are going to find a time to meet. We're going to find a time to spend an hour together. That is my gift and blessing to you. I want to hear about the desires of your heart, and I want to give you some insights in how to make those desires become a reality. I also want you to be the kind of woman that raises all ships. That when you are out in this world, if you think of someone, you grab this link and you send it to them and you say, sweetheart, I love you so much. I see you working hard and I think you need to hear this. I want you to speak with that level of boldness and that level of courage, because that is how God's working. God is divinely guiding us. And when someone's on your heart, and if you're right now listening and you go, so-and-so needs to hear this. It happened to me in church this morning. I was literally there and God just kept putting this person on my heart, putting this person on my heart. I was trying to take notes because I like to do that. And I'm sitting there like, okay, fine. So I reach out to that individual and I said, I'd shared a little bit, went down kind of a deeper rabbit hole than I want to get into here as we wrap up. But I reached out. I was like, I will do anything to get this message into your hands. I'll even change my entire day to come to the next service or the one after that so that you can hear this. That's that important, right? That's the level of conviction we need to have to other people. That's your best customer relationship management strategy, your CRM. It's not a tech integration tool. It comes right from here, right from your heart. And the best way to do that is to say, you're on my mind right now. And I know you're on my mind for a reason. I don't know what that reason is, but I would love to share this message with you. And I want to keep you lifted What can I pray for you this week? That's what that message might sound like. Get into your heart. That's your feminine energy. My former self would have said, hey, I heard this, thought of you. There's a link, right? Or I really liked when she talked about blank, blank, and blank. What are your thoughts on this, right? I would have went into that learner mode, the study mode, the goal-oriented mode, the disciplined and determined plan of action mode. And instead, I want you speaking from your heart. When you learn to practice playing with words and allowing the energy of those words to be present in your world, you will see miracles, sweetheart. I know it. So with that, live boldly. Take that first step and reach out to me now. I want to know the desires of your heart, and I want to know a little bit about your family too, because here we are, single breadwinner moms. So most of us alone on Father's Day, right? I know I always was before I had, anyhow, that's a whole different story. Psychological father craziness. Biological father, my poor child has had to go through not only a biological father, but a psychological father, and now a mother as mother and father. It's just wild. So I get it. I know that it's hard. I know that it's crazy. And I also know that you can quadruple your income, experience ultra high levels of success while you navigate that crazy. So let's do that. Live boldly. Make that first step. Pray dangerously. God's waiting for you. I've been told I am the connector and translator. I'm like God brought me the vision of this master conductor of a symphony. I'm raising, and it was like raising the vibration, raising the vibration, raising the vibration. And so I'm here with great intention and with great purpose. And if we're in touch, it's for a reason. And so I want you praying dangerously, because you'll get that level of clarity for your business, which will lead to a level of conviction that you've never felt before, which is how you achieve ultra high levels of success. And in a way that brings peace and joy and compassion and love and understanding and all of your femininity back to the table. So let's bring that back into the boardroom. And the third, so live boldly, pray dangerously, and my all-time favorite, love wholeheartedly, my friends. Go out and shine your love and light into the world. I absolutely love you. I celebrate you. I come to you on this special day that I'm celebrating with my daughter. From the depths of my heart, it's been an honor to spend this time with you. Go out and shine your love and light into this beautiful world.